Hi guys, welcome to the August garden. It has been quite a rough summer around here. We had drought and extreme temperatures, and I feel like I've been rehabbing this garden for about 6 weeks, and I'm still rehabbing certain areas. But there's a few pretty spots I'd like to show you. And I'll start here with this coleus. The coleus has been a star plant this summer. It's been able to handle the heat with a lot of water for me, but it's one of the few plants that hasn't fried up and really suffered. So these actually were grown from seed, and they're just in a couple of little pots, and I have them in the ground elsewhere, but they have performed fantastic. And this was just a variety packet, which I love. I think that pink one is a watermelon coleus, so that has been really a garden saver around here, as well as some of the coleus I bought from the nursery. But this is a utility tub from Home Depot, and I just removed the rope handles and I used a hole saw to make drainage holes at the bottom. But I had a couple pots of coleus on my deck and my patio that were constantly drooping. They really had depleted all of the nutrients in the soil, and the pot was too small for the size they were. So I decided I'm just gonna pop them in here, and I used some of my homemade compost. And this was just a few days ago, and boy oh boy are these plants happy. And after I gave it a good water, I really haven't had to water it for several days. So that just goes to show you, when you put good quality soil in a big container instead of having small containers, how much better the plants do. It's almost for them, I suppose, like being in a rich, fertile ground. But I particularly like this view, and this is a view right behind me is an entrance to my garden. So this view is what you'd see if you entered my garden through one of the gates. So I'm really thrilled about that. I'm still loving this topiaried structure. It garners a lot of comments from people. People really love that structural form there. And the reason I did this container, it was kind of spurred by the idea that I wanted to move my beautiful bird bath, which I really couldn't see from the house very well, but I decided it should be over here where I keep the bird food. And because the birds are constantly pecking underneath the bird feeder, there's not much grass there or any vegetation at all. As you can see, my wind spinner is indicating that we will be getting a storm later on, which would be great. I'm all for the rain. Let me take you around here. And even my hydrangea in the middle there has perked up. Most of the summer, right there, it's been so droopy. So the hydrangeas really suffered this year. And we can move over here. Lily of the Valley still seems to be doing well. As you can see, I have a lot of ground covers along here. And I'm thinking this Japanese red maple is really outgrowing this pot. So it's either gonna get a bigger pot before winter rolls around, or I might put it in the ground somewhere. All of my elephant ears absolutely hated the temperatures in the 90s. Now that things are in the upper 80s, they really appreciate it. As you can see, the wind is kicking up. You can tell the leaves are still rebounding, but before they were crispy, and I was constantly cutting them off. But they are so pretty, and I love to keep pots of them around the garden. I think it really gives it a tropical, dramatic feel. Let me take you up the stairs I built a couple of years ago. Meanwhile, this lemon coral sedum has turned out to be hardy, and it has survived our brutal summer. But every couple of years it looks a little bit trashy now, but I lay down some cardboard to refresh this path, and in about a month it's going to start being covered by leaves. So I just do this to keep a clear pathway and to keep the weeds at bay. And for a month or two, it's gonna look a little bit messy, but this is my zero cost way of keeping a path along here. And this is starting to be up in my woodland, and as you know, a woodland always wants to take itself back. Here's another beautiful pot of elephant ears. Looks like I need to do a little trimming there. But I just love having them all over the place. And for me, they really do the best in containers. I think they appreciate nice, rich soil, kind of like what they'd get in a rainforest. And over here, I popped in some coleus. I have popped in coleus everywhere, and it's really putting on quite a show. I have penstemon in these two pots, but it's kind of died back a little bit. It's still alive, but the marigolds and the coleus have become the star of the show. And then over here in this container, I just trimmed it back, but these are the Supertunia Bordeaux that I had moved out of a pre-made Proven Winners container. And it looks like this eggplant that I planted, I had grown some seedlings, but it looks like it's taken, and something's been enjoying it. I think it's grasshoppers, I really do. But the new leaves coming out of the center look really beautiful. They're actually pretty leaves. So even if I don't get any eggplant, I'm the only one that eats it in the house anyway. I'm not going to be too upset. I think it's a beautiful, again, dramatic plant. These beds have undergone a lot of ripping out. I just planted these this morning. These are elephant ears my friend gave me. And so they're still a little bit droopy, but they won't be. In a few days, they'll start to perk up. They've just been transplanted. But I use that as a space filler. And I have these low-growing cannas in here, and they have gone to seed. As soon as I'm able to collect the seed off of here, I'm gonna go ahead and cut that back and let the plant focus on some new growth. And this elephant ear is just something I popped in a pot. The bulb was actually lying on the ground for months in the heat, and it was lying outside exposed for the longest time, but it had a couple of little small sprouts on it, so I thought this must still be alive, and I popped it in a pot, and sure enough, look at it. After lying out in the heat wave for months, it's very resilient. So look at it going, guys. Small but mighty. And the same is true on this side. I've got another rehabbing elephant ear, just planted 2 hours ago, so looking very, very droopy. And again, star of the show, here's some coleus cuttings that I potted up probably 6 weeks ago, and some of my geraniums. Back by our barn shed, I have added a table and 2 chairs. There were 2 chairs that I've kept in the barn for a long time, and a new mosaic table that my friend gave me. It's beautiful. So we do have a new seating area. If anybody wanted to come up here and sit in my little Zen garden, it's kind of a relaxing garden with lots of green foliage. And then if we turn around here, in front of the barn, I used to have lots of containers, and I have gotten rid of them. What happened was, especially during the drought, these trees that were surrounding the bins would send their roots up into the bins, despite having a weed barrier there. And that is what they went into. They've gone all through the rustic garden bed, and they went into these bins, so I've done away with them, and I've gone ahead and planted some shade grass seed. I just sprinkled it all along here, put a little straw on top. But because of all the roots from the trees going into the areas I was watering, I've had a lot of trouble getting things to grow in here. Oh, I see a hummingbird. Oh, I hope that was fleeting. I hope you got a chance to see it. But again, look what's shining through. It's the coleus. All the coleus cuttings and seedlings I grew from seed are doing the best in here. I have big patches of just bare ground. I like to have full ground plane coverage, and that's just not happened. But I did put some split peas in here, and it looks like maybe some of those are growing. So I'd love for that to fill in. And again, some more of my seedlings and cuttings. Those are the things that have survived. And I did, from my container garden, bring over some black-eyed Susans. So they're looking worse for wear, but next year they should come back and look fantastic. But as you can see, it's just been a challenge to grow in this garden. Just a few things that are looking good and a lot of empty space. So I hope that in my September garden tour, I'll be able to show you that some of my living mulch ideas worked out. This has been such a pretty garden in the past. This end is looking fuller, and that's because it's shadier. So it didn't quite get as scorched in the heat wave. But I did plant lentils, and really the only place it survived, that's also a really nice living mulch, is down here. And you can see it's almost like a little fern-like texture. It's very pretty, but that's gonna help the soil, adding some nitrogen. One thing that's really grown well is this fungus along this log, which probably means the log will disintegrate in a year or two. But look how beautiful that is. It's some type of shelf fungus. It's absolutely gorgeous. Such a beautiful texture. I've taken lots of pictures of this. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. But look at what's so bright and beautiful. The coleus, the lime, I think it's called lime coleus. It's absolutely beautiful. Because of the rain, the hydrangeas aren't as droopy as they were. They're looking better. And here's a little update on the succulent garden, guys. The succulents have weathered this summer just fine. In fact, they look pretty terrific. This one even has some blooms on it, probably because it rained last night. This is the ice plant. Isn't that beautiful? And I love how this one drapes out of the pot. So pretty. And then my border along here, which is now turned into a sunny border, is doing quite well. I'll take you down there and show you some pretty parts close up. Here's Little Red, enjoying some clover in the garden. We'll give her wide berth. But behind her, the tomato jungle has made a rebound. I don't have lots of dying plants anymore, but I don't have a lot of tomatoes left. So I don't know if there will be any more, but at least it doesn't look like it's dying. And then over here, we have Tithonia all along the fence. That's the bright yellow flower. And my miscanthus does look a little trampled by some heavy rains, but that's okay. It's green and lush. And the Tithonia falls over too, but I let it do its thing, and the birds and the bees just love it. Isn't she cute, guys? I get such a kick out of her. She's quite friendly. But as we come along here, I have some more elephant ears. This is another Home Depot utility tub that I've repurposed. But I love those bold leaves against the grassy texture. So this is a really pretty spot in the garden. And then over here, this is kind of a borrowed view. My neighbor is growing these beautiful pumpkins of some kind, or winter squash. They're just gorgeous. And I happen to think squash vines are just magical. And I did have a chance to show you my canna plants, which I think I'm going to continue along the other side next year. I'll be able to split these in half. They've multiplied at the base. Let me take you in, for example, on this one. Look at how many stalks are there, I'll definitely be able to get at least 2 or 3 rhizomes out of there when I pull them up to store them for the winter. But they continue to attract hummingbirds. I do have some cool weather crops, but we'll go over that more when the air conditioner isn't running. My container plants really took a beating. Even the geraniums, which usually do great in the heat of the summer, really suffered and had to be chopped back quite a bit. I'd say this little pot I bought at the supermarket fared the best, but now that it's all been chopped back, it's starting to rebound, and I think September will be a very pretty month, and we should be seeing some more blooms as a result of all the cutbacks. Thanks for joining me in the garden, guys. It's a little tired being August, but I do think there were still some pretty spots to show you, and a lot of rehabbing going on. And hopefully with milder weather and more rain, September will have even prettier vignettes. I'll see you next time.